Hello, I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, even before the pandemic hit, we heard a lot about the importance of exercise and getting outdoors. And in Joplin, there's many opportunities to do that. And today we're focusing on Joplin Parks and Recreation with Paul Bloomberg, the director. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, a lot of people have been saying, I need to get out and exercise. They were shut in the house and so forth. Have you seen an increased use in park facilities since things happened in the spring?
In my 23 years of Parks and Recreation, I've never seen our parks utilized as much as they have been. You're right. There's a lot of restrictions that were going on during and still the pandemic going on. You know, our parks, we just saw. It's huge. We just seen a huge influx of usage. You would drive by a park around 10 o'clock in the morning, and the parking lots would be packed. The walking trails are packed. Kids are playing out in the green spaces. Because we did have some things off limits at the time, playgrounds and whatnot, but that's all come back. But they're still being used fully. It's great to see.
So maybe some people even change their lifestyles.
I think so, absolutely. I think people saw what Joplin has to offer and maybe didn't realize how amazing our parks are and our trail system is.
Well, how were you able to make some changes as far as some of the exercise programs or group activities? Did you have virtual programs at this time for people that could do activities?
So we did, like other communities in Parks and Rec agencies around the state, we kind of collaborated with them and see what they were doing. Right. We did a lot of virtual, learning programs and stuff like that at home that the parents and caregivers could do with their children. We also did a lot of virtual maps and whatnot, so people can interact in the parks and all that. So we did to a small extent, but we still like I don't want to say bread and butter, but we still like our programs that you can come in person. So
you still were able to maintain in-person activities for people.
Yes, and we'd follow the social distance guidelines and whatnot. But really, people were taking advantage of our parks. One of the big areas, and you'll find this with most communities, the golf courses, tennis courts, pickleball, all of those activities boomed. I mean, those were basically individualized sports. Right. You weren't in groups, so they really benefited from this pandemic.
Golf is really an example where you're socially distanced. It's you and your golfing party, the few people spaced out between each other.
Oh, absolutely. Our golf course, it's financially this is the best we've done since 2012.
Right. So it's really paying for itself, or you're really getting the benefits back along those lines. What about the facilities like the athletic complex? You mentioned, of course, tennis courts were being used.
Yep, all the tennis, throughout the parks, all our tennis courts were used every day. We still had lessons going on. Again, it's you're social distancing yourself. Even we had baseball tournaments and youth softball tournaments going on during this time. Then, obviously you would have to change some of the rules and policies to abide by with the social distancing and disinfecting and whatnot. But we did all that, and it seemed to work.
Great. Right. So now people are kind of back in school, somewhat of a routine in some cases, but now you're looking kind of to the future. And I know we've heard a lot this fall about some studies, some opportunities to say what's going to happen in the future for the parks.
Right. So I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, but you're correct. We have 3 different studies going on. We have the Ewart Pool study, we have Memorial Hall study, and we have getting ready to start is a Parks Master Plan study.
Right.
And so they're all important, and they've been really well. I don't want to say well attended. Obviously, people are social distancing and whatnot, but virtually and surveys have been taken have been a good turnout for that.
So these studies are an opportunity for the citizens to provide feedback to you and to the companies who are working with these studies.
Right. I mean, that's the whole thing about the studies. It's all about what we need the input from the public and the citizens. It's their parks. It's their city. So Ewart in particular, we have some questions on what's the future for Ewart Pool. We have 3 operating pools. It's common knowledge that we struggle with recruiting lifeguards anymore. Kids just have other things going on.
You have to have the staff to run the pools, but open the pools.
We do. And so that study in particular is looking at different ideas on what we could do to that park and that pool. I mean, who's to say that you don't have a splash park in there where you only have 1 or 2 lifeguards watching it, or you renovate the pool to where it has better amenities and whatnot. But all these studies come down to what the people are wanting to see out of that park.
Have you been pleased with the response, for instance, in Ewart Park, in that pool area?
Yes. So Water's Edge is our company doing the Ewart pool study, and they, in the very beginning, they were, if we got 400 surveys, we'd be really happy. Well, we had almost 2,000 surveys completed online, which for their company, they've never seen anything like that on a study. So it was really fantastic to see the community input. It really showed on how much they care for that park.
So what's the process? You have a company who's gathering all this information. How do they process it and follow up from there?
So, the way the studies work, you always have a kickoff with city staff and whatnot, and then you get together with some key, not agencies, but organizations that use your facilities. Then, we schedule a public meeting, so we can it's open to the public. It's an open town hall meeting. They come and go as they please, but we kind of throw the ideas out there that we're hoping to get some feedback on and their comments. And then what happens is, at that same time, you have a survey that's going live during those public meetings, and it lasts about 2 weeks. And once that closes, then the company who's doing the study, they will compile all the data and whatnot and come back to you with what the citizens have said. Right. And and so that's we're here to serve the public. So we're not going to be able to tell them what we think we should need. They're the ones that tell us that what they want. So
you sometimes get responsive. I didn't think about that.
Yes.
Some new ideas.
Oh yeah, and that's a whole other thing. We listed 5 different areas that we were proposing for the public to look at. But then there's another, whole different area that you can go into where they give their idea of what
kind of an open-ended question. What would you like?
Oh yeah, I mean, there was one idea of doing a challenge course or making a fishing pond at Ewart. I mean, so the ideas, are endless, and that's what we're looking for.
Right. You're also looking at Memorial Hall, which is something that's been discussed for years, but you also have a formal study, I guess, underway with Memorial Hall.
We do. We hired a firm out of Kansas City, SFS Architecture, and we started that study as well. Same process as what the pool study is, but this one, Memorial Hall's been a what's the word? It's been a key piece in Joplin. I mean, it was
part of our history over 100 years.
Yes, it was built in 1925, and it was built for the veterans, and so it's an important piece. I mean, there's a lot of information and meetings that we have to make the right decision on Memorial Hall. So again, they did the public they're doing public meetings, the survey, and then we'll have another. A second public meeting that'll come out with concepts and diagrams of what Memorial Hall could be, to give an idea to the public to see what their thoughts are.
So get their reaction to hear some ideas and so forth.
Yeah.
And Memorial Hall has kind of had some challenges structurally as well. I mean, because of the age of the building.
We did, yes. It was unfortunate. I get a call Monday morning, and I found out part of our roof collapsed. Not a huge part, just a corner in our balcony, but it was after engineers went and did their inspections. We had 2 different engineer companies and an actual insurance company give their opinion, and unfortunately we had to shut the Memorial Hall down to the public. Just it wasn't a safe place to open up.
So it's not only what can we do with it, we have to fix it before we can do something else with it.
Yes, and yes, we definitely need to find out what we need to do and then get the public input.
So what do you think is the timetable for both of those studies, as far as, before we can bring back, and here's what we really want to propose?
So, the studies, both studies are pretty much going to wrap up in the middle of November. Okay. And then each company will come up with a recommendation on all the information that was provided by the community to City Council. Okay. And then from that point, we next August, we will take a renewal tax, the park stormwater renewal, to the voters to renew for a third time. This will be our third time doing that. Right. It's not a new tax, it's just a renewal.
And that's a quarter cent?
Quarter cent,
right.
Yep. And so, Parks and Recreation gets part of that, and then and so does not Parks, but Public Works for stormwater.
Stormwater.
So that's an important tax. That's how Parks and Rec gets all their projects funded.
Okay.
And so it's a 10-year tax, and EWERT is an important piece to that. Memorial Hall's an important piece. So whatever comes out of those recommendations, the council will look at and determine if that'll be a project listed in that renewal.
So that when we bring those items up for the vote, people have specific ideas that this is what we're asking to pay for with this tax continuing.
Yes, we actually will have a list compiled. What we'll do is, we're actually getting ready to do a Parks master plan as well. We haven't done one in 20 years. And that is another key component to this too, because it'll encompass EWERT Pool and Memorial Hall. And this is where we come up with our projects. What will happen is, once all these studies are done, we will have a citizen task force that will look at all the projects that have been recommended, and then they will make their recommendation to City Council, and City Council will decide on what we take to the voters.
Right. I'm sure like many challenges, you really get a lot of wants and needs than you can actually cover. So it's going to be a priority type of system.
It is. We'll have our big projects. Schiffer-Decker Pool was one. So that was one of our big ticket items. But we have a lot of small stuff. We will put stuff, in this current park stormwater, we have stuff for landscaping. Our parks rely on trees and new mulch every year. So those are small things like that will be part of the park stormwater.
So the master plan, you're obviously looking at the whole park system.
Yes.
You've got more than just a couple of parks. How many parks do we have?
We have 24.
So 24 different parks throughout the city.
Yes, right. And for the size of Joplin, that's a lot.
And different sizes. You have some that are little neighborhood parks, and then you have the big ones as well.
Yes, yep. We have, you're absolutely right. Some of our big ones, like Cunningham Park, which is kind of our memorial park after the tornado. We have Mercy Park, which pretty much is our new flagship park. Right. We've teamed up with our Rotary Sculpture Garden Committee, and if you haven't been out to that park, it's a beautiful, beautiful park.
A lot of people take walks out there.
Oh my gosh, it is definitely one of our most beautiful parks we have.
Now the neighborhood, the smaller parks, if a lot of people still using those, they may have a pavilion and some playground equipment and so forth. They still get a lot of use.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Parks are, and through the pandemic, people really found that out. Parks are a huge part to our lives. It's just a wellness and health and wellness issue for everyone. I think people didn't realize how much and how important these parks were to everyone.
Now you have some unique aspects. The dog park. People probably hear, well, Joplin has that dog park. Explain how that works. People have a park that people can bring their dogs to.
Yes, we do have that came after the tornado as well, and that was a really good project. And that's a membership-based park, and you just come out to the athletic complex and you fill out some paperwork, and you have to go to the city hall and get some permits and all that, but. We have around 200 members that come to that park. So actually that's been another idea thrown out that we should have another dog park in another part of town.
So locate this way.
Yes, it's been really popular. So and most communities do have those now. So yeah.
So you mentioned another part of town. Sometimes people say, well, there's a lot in this part of town. Can we do something in this part of town?
Yep, all the time. We haven't added a new park in Joplin since Mercy Park, obviously, and there's a lot of areas in Joplin that could probably use an addition. I can just off the top of my head, southeast part of Joplin really doesn't have a park. So that's part of where this park master plan will come into play. It will also identify areas that the community needs more parks. And they'll have tools where individuals can get online and actually almost develop their own park.
What they would like to have in it,
yes.
The features?
So it's really the firm that we picked, Landwork Studio. Their ideas are fresh and exciting and energetic, and we're looking forward to this study.
Well, how does the city get more parkland? Is it something you out and buy, or people donate? I know the Mercy was a unique situation, obviously, post-tornado.
Yes, Mercy was definitely a unique situation, and it's both. There's the opportunity of buying,
some
parcels.
Property. You see some open land.
Yep, that can always happen. And then there's also, individuals that that want to donate to the city, and that's happened before too. I mean, a lot of our parks were created that way by donating. So, yeah.
Great. And tying things together, we have a trail system in Joplin. So how does the trail system tie into the parks programs? Because you've put in some new trails, especially on the south side where you've had some recovery, but we also have trails other parts of town.
Right. So, individually, a lot of our parks will just have the trail system within itself.
Walk around the park perimeter and so on.
Yep. And then, but one thing that we're starting to do is we're trying to connect those parks with trails. And planning and zoning is a huge part to this. To this trail connectivity. So that's something that we really need to look at. I think that's probably going to come out to be a really important project and issue for the stormwater renewal. Because we're trying to connect possibly down to McIndoe Park with the Tin Cup Trail. That's a project that's ongoing. And it would be really nice if we can eventually connect to Wildcat Park all the way up through Dover. So that's one of our goals.
So people can cross town through a trail system or a park system and probably go from their neighborhood to the park without having to get in their car and drive there.
Yes, yep, absolutely.
So working with. What about the opportunities? You mentioned youth sports for those organized sports activities. You're still doing those. It's fall as we're recording this, so you're still doing the fall sports.
We are. We're doing soccer. For the youth that we had to do a lot of thinking, a lot of research with other communities on how they were handling it this year because it's a contact sport just like football. But we have some good protocols in place. We disinfect all of our facilities. We had to hire on more staff for that. And then, obviously, we're actually more concerned about the spectators than we are the players.
All the parents clumped together on the sideline.
Together for a long period of time. So, we always encourage masks. We're always going to encourage that if you can't social distance. But, obviously, we recommend use social distancing. And if you can't, then, we appreciate it that you put a mask on. So.
And earlier you mentioned pickleball. Well, that's still, I would say, fairly new to Joplin. People, there have been some stories this year about it, but they drive by and they see people playing the sport and say, what are they doing? It's not tennis, it's not badminton.
Pickleball has really picked up. It's really huge in Arizona, Florida, California, but it started obviously working its way towards Joplin. And because of that, we renovated a couple of our tennis courts in Landreth Park into 8 pickleball courts, and they are packed. It is crazy how that sport has just boomed, and it's just an easy sport. You play with a paddle and you play with a wiffle ball. I mean, for the most part. So
they're not dodging back and forth like they do in tennis.
Right. Yep. The court is basically half the size of a tennis court. So and most times you play doubles. So it's a great. I played it in college. It's for all ages.
Now, is it something that you'll have lessons? I know you have tennis lessons. Is that something that somebody said, I've never played it, but it looks like it could be fun?
That's a funny story because we do have a tennis pro on hand, and he actually at first thought pickleball was, well, that's infringing upon tennis. But once he saw the popularity in the sport and has actually played, he actually went and got certified. And so he actually can teach lessons.
He can teach how to do it.
So he just hasn't done it yet, but I think that's coming.
Great. Well, I know we were talking about a lot of things. You have a website a lot of information can come through your website. So we can, maybe take a look at the website, but like most areas of the city government, information's right there for people at the website.
Yep. We have, most of our information's on joplinparks.org. Another huge thing for us is our Facebook page. If you become a friend of Joplin Parks and Recreation, that's where we post almost all of our stuff for everyone to see. These studies that are going on right now, you can go to our Facebook page, or you can just go to the joplinmo.org and you can find the studies and all the information on all the studies going on.
So that's where they'll find a link to provide that feedback to participate in those studies.
Yep.
If someone's interested in finding out about some of the activities or the sports and the seasons, they can also get that. We're talking about soccer now, but you'll have more coming up this winter.
Yeah, they're all linked together. The city website and Parks and Rec website are all linked together. But yeah, we are gearing up for winter. Again, it'll be a little bit different look from our traditional seasonal activities, but we're working with Conventions and Visitors Bureau, working with Joplin Downtown Alliance for some activities for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Most of the stuff will be held outdoors. We try and avoid the indoors, but it'll be we'll encourage encourage families to come out with their coats, mittens, and stocking caps and have some hot chocolate. So
gather downtown and have that gathering with the family.
Yep.
What about some of the fall? I know you've had hay rides in the past, and that's been very popular in the fall. Are you still planning that for outdoors this year?
This year, and that's one of our best programs because we usually attract over 1,000 people to that one. But unfortunately, that is a number that we're not comfortable with.
That's a large group of people.
A large group of people. So we've revamped that one to where we're actually doing a program where families register online, and we have about 30 different fire pits that'll be placed at McClellan Park. And basically, you're going to kind of be in a pod. A family will have their own fire pit.
Somebody gathered here, somebody gathered there.
Yes, and then we'll have a movie showing. We'll have hot chocolate, marshmallows, hot dogs, and do it that way. It'll be more of a intimate family event more than just, come, 1,000 people show up and,
So they need to register in advance for that.
And yes, you register for advance for that. And again, you just go to our website and take care of that.
What about the cost for some of the programs? People may not be familiar with Joplin Parks, as far as the
Sure.
cost.
Our costs, we have so many different fees for our programs. Our main focus is just to recover our operating costs. Right. So, special events will range anywhere from $10 to $20. Special events aren't very expensive. But our leagues and whatnot, those will be around $40 or $50. But a lot of the stuff in the holiday seasonal time is free. I think we're planning out at Mercy Park. We're gonna, I can't remember really. I believe the name is the Holiday Tree Trail, and that one's gonna be, people can buy a tree, decorate it, and then we have a competition on who has the best tree.
So people can walk through the park and see the trees.
Correct. And we'll have movies playing, hot chocolate. Santa Claus will be there. You can't get your picture on his lap, but you can stand 6 feet away from him. But we're going to probably be doing 3 different weekends. And I know we'll be doing one November 24th. Okay. Will be our first kickoff with the Christmas tree walk. And then the second we'll do, I believe it's the first and the second weekend of December that we'll be doing a children's movie out in the park, and then we'll be doing a family get-together movie out there.
So you're really gearing a lot of things for families. That sounds like, it's bring the family out and have fun in the parks and the facilities.
I think one of the things that happened with the pandemic is it's been a terrible. Obviously this has been terrible for our community and all the other communities, but I think it drew families together and made them more tight-knit group. So we've experienced that. So it's been a heartfelt experience to see all that.
To see when you go to the park, it's not just the kids playing, but the families are there.
The whole family. It's wonderful.
Together,
yeah, it's great.
Right. So looking ahead, you mentioned the tax vote coming up in next August. So timetable for next year, will we have you said a citizen committee will be formed?
Right. So the master plan, we're going to be kicking that off here real soon, and then that'll wrap up near the end of January. Okay. And then after that, prior to that, there'll be at the same time we're doing our parks master plan, Public Works is doing their Public Works master plan.
Because they're looking at their part of that tax issue as well. Right?
Yep. So we'll come together at the end of January, and then I believe probably in December we'll be looking to, and I don't know how that process works, but the city will be selecting a citizen task force that will oversee and look at all these projects. Because we'll have a whole lot more projects than what there probably is money for.
So it's going to go beyond just the staff, but we're going to get citizens of the community to review these ideas.
Again, the citizens are the key. That's just it's just a good thing to do. There'll be the ones that will be voting on this in August. So we want to make sure and get it right and get what they want. What Parks and Recreation tries to do, we try to do as many projects that affect everybody. We don't want to just do one group.
So you're not targeting a certain area demographics.
Yeah, so people who love trails, we'll want to have something for that. People who love pools, recreation, parks, you name it. We want to put all that together for everybody. Right. But once we select that citizen task committee, then they review that. I don't know the timeline on that, but I think it's like 30 to 60 days. They'll review that, and then it goes to city council. I believe that'll probably be March or April that they'll look at that.
So they'll review the recommendations from the citizens.
And after that, then it's those get approved, and then we start.
Sharing information.
Sharing information and getting the word out to get people to vote.
Great. So a lot of things happening in the next year, or less than a year.
It's been a busy year, absolutely. So,
well, I know you've been working with Parks and Rec and Joplin for quite a while. What do you enjoy the most? You've been talking about a lot of different aspects
gosh,
of the job.
there's so much. I mean, that's why I went into Parks and Rec, because there's so much stuff to do. Honestly, with this pandemic, I think the thing that I've loved the most this year is just seeing everybody use everything that we have. It makes you feel like you're making the right decisions, and you see smiles. My biggest thing, if I see a smile on a kid's face, I know we're doing something right. I always felt that way. I've always, I believe in, a tight-knit family. I think that Parks and Rec is here to enhance the quality of life for all the citizens, and would never have picked a different field.
So quality of life we hear a lot about when we hear about people talking about communities. Parks are one of those areas that really enhance that for people.
Yes, I think parks is a driving force why people move to certain areas. That they will look, not just the house they buy, but they'll look at what the amenities the city provides, and parks are a huge asset to that.
Great. Well, Paul, look forward to following up on all these studies and seeing where the city's heading in the next 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thank you very much for visiting with me today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'd like to thank you, our viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on the station. We'll see you then.